Welcome to another episode of Board Progression. Today we are reviewing Park City Resort. That includes the canyon side. As a local with over 500 days of riding here in Utah, I am making reviews of all the resorts I've ridden and made content for you guys for, and I'm doing a video ranking the top 10 resorts in Utah. As a reminder, this is basically just my opinion and what I'm looking for in a resort, what I like, and how the resort caters to my style of riding. I love each and every one of these resorts. There's no such thing as a bad resort here in Utah. If one resort gets a higher ranking than another and you're not happy about it, we're kind of just splitting hairs here. Remember that, okay? To review all these resorts, we're breaking things down into 7 categories that mean the most to me, and then we're adding up the total at the end for a final score. The categories are terrain and snow quality, length of season, lifts, amenities, and terrain accessibility, trail difficulty and variety, that includes if they have a terrain park or not, crowds and travel time. A category I'm calling customer service. Now that doesn't mean like if you have a complaint, can you get somebody on the phone or something like that? Is the resort listening to its community? Is it adding fees like parking? That kind of thing. And the final category is the overall vibe of the resort. At the end of the day, what's your impression and how stoked are you to be back? If you want to see a more in-depth description of these categories, check out my Solitude review. Before we get into the categories, let me tell you a little history on Park City. Now, before there was any skiing at all, Park City was built as a mining town for silver specifically. Maybe this is why in 1963, when the town shifted to ski tourism instead of mining, they opened up a resort called Treasure Mountain. In '66, they changed the name to Park City Ski Area, and the rest is history. Well, not quite. Let me tell you a little bit more. Fast forward to 2013, and the neighboring resort Canyons, originally called Park West, was acquired by Vail Resorts. A year later, Vail acquired Park City Resort from Powder Corp and combined it with Canyons, making it the largest skiable terrain in North America accessed by a lift, with 7,300 acres of skiable terrain. Now, the key wordage there is accessible via lift, because there's another resort here in Utah that boasts that they have the total most skiable acreage in North America inbounds in a resort. If you want to find out what resort that is, stay tuned and check out my other reviews. According to Park City's website, they have a peak elevation of 10,026 feet, 3,226 feet vertical. For snowfall, they average 355 inches a year, and last season they got 612 inches by closing date. I think after they closed, they even got a little bit more, honestly. If you're interested in a day pass, they start around $130 and they can go all the way up to about $300. Now that's if you just show up the day of on a peak day, but if you buy tickets online in advance, there's all kinds of different prices. Now let's get into those categories and start with terrain and snow quality. Now Park City is on the back end of the Wasatch Range, so they've got lower elevation, warmer temperatures, and not as much snowfall as the heart of the Wasatch. For this reason, we're giving them a 6 out of 10. There's really not much terrain that's above tree line, but on the plus side, there's not a whole lot of avalanche closures and delays on powder days. The terrain is fun, it's just not that technical, and the snow quality is good, but as you get lower and lower on the mountain, it gets pretty dense and wet. In fact, I've been there on a powder day when it almost felt like it was raining at the base of the mountain. Next up is length of season, and we're giving them a 5 out of 10. Park City always picks their opening and tentative closing dates before the season even starts, which is really weird because you have no idea how good or bad the season's gonna be. It's always sometime in mid-April they stake a certain date to close. Now, however, last season there was enough demand and they were supposed to close on April 18th, but due to all the snow that they had, the record-breaking snow, they pushed that back to May 1st, so that was pretty cool. But most seasons they start mid to late November, and then they almost always close in mid-April. They're scheduled to open this Friday on November 17th for the season. Next up is lifts, amenities, and terrain accessibility. Get ready for this. We're giving them a 10 out of 10 in this category. They have 40 lifts according to their website. Now, granted, some of those are probably magic carpets and rope tows, but still, that's a ton of lifts. You can cover so much ground at the resort between the canyons and Park City from all the lifts that they have open. And congestion isn't that much of a problem really, other than the base of the Park City Village area. One of the coolest things about Park City is the lift system even goes straight into the downtown area of Main Street, Park City, where all the restaurants and shops are. You can ski or ride right up to the street, unstrap, walk into a restaurant or bar, walk right back out and get on a lift and be back on the runs before you know it. And not only do they have a lot of lifts, they have a lot of high quality, high speed lifts. They've got quads and they've got 6-seaters. They got the ones that have the cover over you to protect you from the elements. They've got gondolas. They've got a gondola that connects the two resorts back and forth. And even if you don't want to take all those lifts, you can park at the Park City side or you can park at the Canyon side and make either side your base of operations. That's awesome. As far as terrain goes, there's a lot of options you can access, and they're all not far from a lift. If you want to hike for some extra untouched turns or something like that, there's a lot of hikes, but they're not that far and not that grueling. And say you get hungry or thirsty, or you just want to take a bathroom break, there's all kinds of food options and places to stop without having to go all the way back to the base. Now the next category is trail variety and difficulty. We're giving them an 8.5 out of 10. Now with this much acreage of skiable terrain, there's a lot of variety, but there's not a lot of steep technical chutes or cliff drops. As I mentioned, most of the terrain is below tree line, but there's tons of trees, and just the exploration alone is super fun. And then over on the Park City side, there's 7 terrain parks if you like park. And they're all quite good, but 2 of my favorites are Pickaxe and Three Kings. Now, people say that the terrain parks used to be better pre-Vail, and maybe that was true for a number of years, but I've heard from locals that the parks are getting better and better over the last couple of years. And there's a pretty big spectrum of progression there. There's beginner stuff if you're just kind of dipping your toes in a park, and then there's big stuff and extra big stuff that I'll probably never hit, but if you're training to compete, they've got that too. I do wish they had more cliffs and rocky chutes. That stuff's really fun, so that's the only reason we didn't score them higher, but there's so much to see and do. You could probably spend a whole season exploring and not see all that the resort has to offer. Before we go on, I want to take a quick minute to remind you that if you guys are interested in any board progression merch, there's a link in the description below, and all Patreon members get 15% off. So if you like this hoodie or you want to check out some of the other stuff I have, including stickers, please hit that link. We got 3 categories left. The next one is not super fun. It's crowds and travel time. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Epic Pass, right? Now you might think with a mega pass like Epic Pass, the resort is overcrowded and overrun, but honestly, because of the resort's size and its infrastructure, it never really seems that crowded to me. Yes, it gets a little congested at Park City Village around Payday and Crescent, but it's easy to get away from crowds, and in fact, sometimes I've never even seen crowds. I was at Canyons on opening day last season, and it was walk-on lifts, and there were only 2 or 3 lifts running. As far as traffic goes, from the center of Salt Lake Valley, it's not that bad. You hop on I-80 and it's 3 lanes of highway. So even if it's snowing, it's not gonna be as bad as the Cottonwoods. There's no road closures basically. Without traffic, it's about 35 minutes from the center of Salt Lake Valley to Park City and 30 minutes to Canyons. On a busier day, maybe it'll take you 45 to an hour to get to those. For this reason, we're giving them 8 out of 10. Now, as far as public transit goes, there's not a great option to get you from Salt Lake City to Park City. But if you're in downtown Park City around the Village area, there's a free public bus. So that's pretty awesome. I've not ridden it, but I've heard it's quite good. One thing I will add that you want to avoid is being in the Park City Village area right when all the lifts are closing. It's basically a pretty big bottleneck of everybody trying to get out at the same time. All right, we're almost done. The next category is customer service. We're giving them a 6.5 out of 10. In a time when a lot of resorts are adding paid parking and mandatory reservations, Park City still has a lot of options there. There is some paid parking and it's pretty steep, and there's some reservation systems on the Park City side, but there's carpool and transit incentives to help make it cheaper. And that's only until 1 o'clock. After 1 o'clock, all parking is free and there's no reservations, so that's pretty cool. And over on the Canyon side, there's always a lot that's free, but it's first come, first serve. Now with the Vail acquisition and Epic Pass, a lot of locals weren't happy about that, but it seems like they've been making strides over the years. For example, a couple years ago, Vail made a groundbreaking policy for all their employees to get at least $20 an hour starting for any job. That's pretty crazy. And last season, due to popular demand on social media, they extended their season by 2 weeks, and they kept their most popular terrain park open, even though they said they weren't originally going to. To me, these are the things that matter to a local that's there a lot. Now, does Park City Resort have the same relationship with its customers as like a mom and pop resort? No, but for a mega pass resort, 6.5 out of 10 is pretty good. All right, our last category is the overall vibe of the resort. Now, despite Park City maybe having a little bit of a wealthy, uppity reputation, every time I've been there, I've had an amazing time and great interactions with all the people that I meet. On powder days, everybody's stoked and friendly. On multiple occasions, I've had locals take me to zones I'd never been to before because I asked them for directions. And there's basically no powder panic with people chomping at the bit to get rope drops. And if you're into terrain parks, there's a rich park heritage there without a locals only park rat kind of mentality, it seems to me. For all those reasons, we're giving it an 8 out of 10. It does have a little bit of a corporate feel, and maybe it's not as cozy as a family run resort. All right, so it's time to add up all the individual categories that were ranked 1 through 10 and see what the final score is. For this one, we are gonna come out to a 52. Which is very impressive. It honestly surprised me a little bit. For our ranking system, anything from a 50 to a 59 is gonna be a 5-star resort. So we're giving Park City and Canyons 5 stars for this review. Let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments below. If you agree, if you disagree, I'd love to hear the conversation. Make sure you check out my other reviews and the ranking video, the top 10 when that drops. If you want to see more epic cinematic content that I've made for you guys from Park City, check out the other videos that I've attached. I want to thank all the Patreon members out there who are supporting board progression. You guys are making this dream a reality, so thank you so much. I hope you liked this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did, please, and I hope you guys are progressing in anything and everything that you're doing. That's all for now. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.